Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Thanks for joining us. As you can see on the intro video, it's time to talk about Untangle. I'll tell you what I like about Untangle, what I really like about Untangle, what I really like about Untangle, and then what I don't like about Untangle. So buckle up, it's going to be a long and bumpy ride, but I'm going to try and show you as much as I can on this Untangle unified security gateway. It is that. It is what it purports to be. So buckle up. Let's get into this together. So you're not going to see my lovely face, and you are going to have to put up with the air conditioning noise in the background, because frankly I'm not going to. It was 89 degrees today in November in South Texas. That AC ain't turning off. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell this is in front of you. Well, what this is in front of you is my new favorite firewall, or adventure into new firewalls, and it's called Untangle. And we're going to do a review of it, and I'm going to show you how I got mine configured and set up. And this is a your mileage may vary kind of situation, but I'm always loving to evaluate new firewall products. As you know, Carrier Control is my favorite firewall product, but they've been bought out by GFI, and I don't know that I've given GFI a fair chance, but they kind of cut me out of their partner program because I'm a little guy, you know. I don't sell a lot of these a year, so, and they want you to sell at least 5 of these a year. I can't do that. I don't have enough clientele that need that much power. Not that I have given up on pfSense, but I just find pfSense a bit clunky and hard to use, and I especially don't like their reporting feature, but I may not have given it a fair shot. But be that as it may, that we're doing this video, and it's nighttime, and I just don't feel like putting my face on the screen today. So let's go ahead and log in to Untangle, and then I can give you a brief overview of the main interface. It's very pretty, very pretty, as you can see. Now, the system I am running this on is a virtual machine on my Dell server. I've given it 2 CPUs, as you can see right over here, and that's 2 Intel Xeon processors, and I've given it 4 gig of RAM, 128 gig hard drive. I've given it a couple of standard Hyper-V network cards, and that's basically all I had to do, and load the ISO and follow the instructions. So this is not going to be an install video, please note that. This is just an overview video. So right here, this is the name I've given the machine, the version of the software I'm running, stats about the hardware it's running on, or thinks it's running on. And then you can see why I gave this thing 4 gig of RAM, because this thing is a pig on memory. But that's fine, because this is what they call a UTM Firewall, a Unified Threat Management. And you'll see what I mean by that as we move on. Here's the swap file usage, the disk usage, and then our CPU load. This tells us our currently active hosts, the maximum active and known devices, and then total sessions, scan sessions, bypass sessions, etc. And then on one side I've got my fiber connection, and on the other side I have my subnet 5 with currently it looks like 16 devices. I think that's what that number means. This map distribution is the number of sessions I have going on currently in the United States, and I have a few going on over in Europe. This is my interface usage. So if I were to run a speed test, let's do that real quick. I don't have anything else going on the internet right now. Everybody else has gone to bed, so we'll go ahead and begin our test. It's going to select a server for us. Okay, we'll let that run. Yeah, I know, be jealous. And it is consistent. You know, I kind of prattled on about this fiber connection, but other than a couple of minutes of downtime, these people really have their act together. ping times are great. Upload and download speeds are great. They just really do a damn good job of providing internet access for a rural area, and that's Guadalupe Valley Electric Company. So if you know anybody out in my area, tell them, hey, he gets really good internet for under $100 a month. Okay, so there's a speed test. So let's switch over to Untangle, and we see nothing. Not even a spike. We may have to wait for that. I was hoping what would happen is the interface would say, hey, there was a big spike in activity, but I don't think the reporting has caught up with the actual live events. And this gives me some ideas of my web usage scanned, flagged, and or blocked. So you'll see as we get on into the program here. And then I'm open to everybody. So this tells you your top categories by request. So you can see where the traffic is going on your network, what it's going out to, what the most used services or categories are. Your top host names will appear here, and then your top host names usage. So you see I've got some hosts in here already, and it color codes them. Okay, and then top applications by size, so TCP application or YouTube, and you can see by far YouTube. There's my little spike on my test. I was doing my download test, and then here's a spike here when I was doing it as well, TCP. And other than that, you see it's registered YouTube. And then we have our sessions per minute down here, and our alert events right here. So up here along the top, I have an option to manage widgets, so I could add even more of these. These are all called widgets. And I could add more of them if I needed to. I could even create my own based on alert events, etc. There's just a ton of stuff in here. And keep in mind, I'm giving you a general overview today, not a detailed, because I could go on for this for hours. There are probably features here that I haven't even discovered yet. But I just want to show you the ones I'm familiar with. So that's how you manage your widgets. And then, each widget you have a refresh on. Some of them may have the ability to modify them, like this one. Okay. So if they're modifiable, you'll see this little gear icon come up here. So you can further modify what that widget shows. So totally customizable. Okay, now if we go over to our sessions, these are all the current sessions, whether they're going out to the internet or they're on your local network. You can highlight them, and it'll tell you over here the session details, what it was doing, all of even some more information. I don't even know what it is, like server latitude and longitude of where it's connecting to, etc. And you can come down here and you can see all that. Hosts is just what you think it is. It's all the hosts on your network that Untangle has been able to see. Now, I had a problem with, I don't know if it's just I'm doing it wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and sort this by IP address so you get an idea. So I don't know if I was just sorting this or setting it up wrong or what, but I had to manually come in here. Actually, you don't do it here. You can't do it on this page. But on the next page, you'll see under devices, I had to manually come in here and give it a host name and a username just so I could keep track of data. Now, anywhere here where it tells you it's false, that means these machines are currently not going out to the internet. So they're not counted in your license count. Okay? Now, the version of this software that I'm using is the home version. And I did pay for it, and I'm going to tell you in a little bit what I paid for it after I show you what it does. So I've gone out and I've identified most of my connections here, and I did that under devices. So right here, if I were to double click, I can actually add a host name or even a username there. So that's what that devices list is good for. And these are all the devices it's been able to find on my my local network. And over on the users tab here, this is users that I've set up for myself, just so I can keep straight in my head. Most of my servers come out from a group of IP addresses, so I have servers as a user myself, my spouse, and then the TiVo when it goes out to the internet, so I can keep an eye. So at any point I can just come back here to the dashboard, and I'm right back here where my stats are, beautifully laid out. This is really quite a lovely interface. I'm a big fan of dashboards because they contain a lot of useful information and they can cram it into a fairly small place. Alright, let's go into the configuration section because I'm sure y'all are excited to see what's in there. Now, if you use the previous version of Untangle, it was really kind of odd the way they had the interface set up. They actually had it set up as a rack. So it looked like a two-post rack, like a telecommunications rack in your server closet, and you would add and remove applications or pieces of networking and stuff. And it was really kind of a unique interface, but I gotta tell you honestly, I never cared for it that much. I like the dashboard style they do right here much better than I did on the 12 dot version. But anyway, I digress. Let's come to config. So under config and network is where you've got your Ethernet adapters, and these are fully editable. So I can go up here and edit it. Like for example, yeah, that's my IP address, but I didn't want to use my ISP's DNS, so I was able to enter it in here. You can see that you can also add aliases in here, so if you had additional external IPs, and then etc. So I'm going to cancel on that. Same way with your internal IP that you want to use on your subnet, and you can even give it aliases. So if you had more than one IP for this, for example, say you had another subnet, a 10 subnet, you could add the 192.168.10.254 and add another subnet to this, and then configure your VLANs to point to the right router. So you could use multiple IPs internally as well as externally. Okay, and then your host name is here. So I just called mine gatekeeper mcs.local, and mind you, everything else I don't discuss. I just kept the defaults on it. Now you can't see it, but down here is a save button in the lower right hand corner. So anytime you would change any of these devices, you would want to you want to save the changes. The services tab is just so you can set up your local HTTP and HTTPS port. Your port forwarding rules. So here's my rules for my mail server. Very simple to set up. You just click on add and pretty much follow the instructions. You even have some advanced features here that you can do. I'm not going to get into those. I'm just showing you how it works. Then you have NAT rules, bypass rules, filter rules, your routes, DNS. Now, it was my understanding that what you're supposed to do is to have your host be able to have this information filled out on your hosts. You had to go here under config and network and DNS, and you're supposed to list your local, your internal domain, which is mcs.local. There's my IP of my internal DNS server, and then a reverse DNS lookup. And I put both of these in here, but for whatever reason, it still did not read them properly in the hosts. You also have a DHCP server if you need it. On the advanced tab, this is more advanced, and it even warns you up here. They require careful configuration. Misconfiguration can compromise the proper operation and security of your server. So, in other words, if you don't know what you're doing in here, leave it alone. But we can just look through it. Access rules, universal plug and play, DNS and DHCP, network cards, etc. And then there's a full suite of troubleshooting. So if I were to run the connectivity test the DNS, test TCP, and it looks like everything is good. I could test the DNS, do a connection test, trace route, download, and a packet test. Now the one thing I didn't show you under the interfaces is if you go to edit, you can also change the name. So I changed that to Fiber 100. Other than I think it had it as ETH1 before. So you can change the name on your interfaces so that everything looks nice. So that's the configuration. Okay. Under administration, that's where we have the username for the administrator accounts and for other accounts. Our certificates we can generate, SNMP, our skins. Let's see, events. So these are already preset events. It's going to do a certain thing when an event trigger is met. Not going to go over that in detail. Email is where I set up the SMTP. I just use their cloud-hosted mail relay server. Local directory I'm not going to cover. Upgrade is just what it says. System is your for your time sync and your regional data. Your support information, whether you allow them to connect to you. You can do a backup, which is great to have, so you can back up your configuration to a file. You have restore, where you can restore all settings, protocols, etc., and shield. Again, not going to go over those in detail. I'm not going to go to about, because that is where your license information is stored, so I'm going to stay away from there. Okay. So if we come over to the reports section, we have all of these lovely built-in reports. I'm just going to give you an example of, let's see, our web filter summary. There's not much there. Web usage scanned. Let's see, top categories by request. And these are all the built-in reports. This report generator it's got a full SQL database behind it. So you, in theory, could ask it any information you wanted, create any reports you want, if you know how to word the reports properly. So our flagged categories, blocked categories, top sites by request, and that's just on the web usage. You can get user events or user reports. Let's see here, some other good reports. Let's go to virus blocker. Let's see, web usage, all web usage blocked. Web top blocked viruses. Yeah, it hadn't blocked a lot of viruses, so there's not much in there. But this just gives you an example of some of the reports. Some of the reports I can't even go over them, because they're just, they're just a plethora, as they would say. Just to give you an example of what the reports look like, and then you can pull that information out of it. Sorry. For example, give you an ad blocker, ads blocked, top blocked ad sites. Just like I said, a plethora of reporting information. Come back to the dashboard here. And not only does it keep reports, but out of the box it emails you you have daily reports, weekly and monthly reports. So here's just an example of the one of the daily reports. It tells you how many hosts were active, how much data usage, sessions, bandwidth usage, CPU load, disk usage, memory usage, swap usage. Then it tells you about the web usage, top domains, viruses that were blocked, FTP usage, virus blocker light, FTP email, spam blocker, spam ratio, fish blocker, bandwidth control. I mean, on and on and on. So you get this report on a daily basis, so you can see what kind of activity you've got going on your network. So if you don't do like I do and sit there and keep the dashboard up and running all day and monitoring it, this thing is great. It gives you reports throughout the day. Okay. Oh my God. I forgot the most important part of the Untangle. Well, one of a very important part, and that is the apps. Okay, so if we come over here to apps, almost all the apps are installed. In fact, if I click on install apps here, I've only got 4 that I actually haven't put into use. These are the ones that come with the license: web filter, virus blocker light. This is set to expire in 13 or 12 days. Comes with spam blocker, fish blocker, bandwidth control, SSL inspector, application control, captive portal, firewall, ad blocker, reports, policy manager, directory connector. It does not come with live support or branding manager. Those will expire here in a few days. So Web filter is just what you think it is. It allows you to go out and set up categories to block and or flag, and it has a ton of these that it keeps updated. You have site lookup here. Again, I'm gonna go through these very quickly because I don't know what half of them mean, and I'm gonna guess on the other half. So we have block sites, so if you want to add a site in there that's not one in there, if you are getting a site block that you want to pass through, you can put it in there. You can also set up by IP address those that can bypass the blocking policies. Then you have more rules and advanced, and you can view the reports. Okay, virus blocker, pretty self-explanatory. It's a virus scanner. It can scan your HTTP, SMTP, and your FTP. Again, you can pass sites, and you can go into advanced, and you can set up your MIME types, etc. And this is a very fascinating piece of software on here, the Scout IQ Cloud Scan. We'll cover that in another video, but it's how you can go out to Untangle's website, and you can actually see the propagation of viruses and so forth. And Untangle has a unique way of updating their viruses and their list of bad files, keeping it updated. So, and then you have virus blocker light, spam blocker, anti-phishing, bandwidth control. I don't have it turned on right now, but you can go in here and you can run the setup wizard and limit the bandwidth. If you have a limited speed connection, you can prioritize who gets what bandwidth and when. SSL inspector, you have application control, so known applications, you can ban them, you can block them, you can tar pin them, you can flag them. Has a plethora of settings here. Again, separate rules, etc. Let's see, captive portal for your wireless or other devices. You can set that up. That's a whole other video in itself. The firewall and the rules, etc. Pretty simple. It has a built-in ad blocker if you want to use that. I am using that. I don't know how well it works, and normally I don't like to use an ad blocker. If I do, I usually use it in the browser, not in the firewall. I'm usually not happy with the ad blockers within the firewall. Your reports, you have a policy manager here, directory connector for Active Directory, Radius, Google, even has Google Drive authentication on here. In your captive portal, you can even configure this to use Google as authentication. You'll see here you have local directory, Radius, Active Directory, any directory connector, and then you have Google, Facebook, Microsoft, or any OAuth provider. So you can set up your captive portal to actually use their Google, Facebook, or Microsoft account to log in. The IPsec VPN, OpenVPN are just what they say, and then you have Tunnel VPN. These two are for point-to-point, like if you're connecting a remote user to your IPsec VPN or your OpenVPN, and this one is to more or less connect your firewall with a tunnel connection to anonymize it or whatever. Intrusion prevention is on. Okay, so far it's 4 sessions logged out of 10 or 104,342. Pretty self-explanatory what that is. Configuration backup, so I can back up all my configuration, my reports, etc. And then you have branding manager and live support, which we're not going to cover. Look, I know I'm gushing a bit, and I'm going through this Untangle config, the way I've got it configured very quickly. And if we have some interest in this, I'll start doing deeper dive videos. As I learn new things, I'll teach them to you, or if I stumble upon something. But the reason and I know I've only been running it 3 days and 9 minutes, but I'm just going to say from the outset what I like about this is the fact that it was very simple to install and set up. I was able to get it configured without actually any help. I just basically, went through followed the prompts and went through and got it configured and got it working well. Now, what you do is you download it, and it's unlimited. It's got all the apps. I didn't even cover the apps. Let me go in here and show you just the apps, and then I can install more. But I've got almost all the apps installed. Now, these apps come with the version I'm running, with the exception of Virus Blocker. That will turn off after 15 days. Branding Manager will turn off, and Live Support. You don't get that on this version that I'm running. And the version that I'm running is the home version. And so they let you download it and run it free for 15 days. And that's what I recommend you do. However, within a day, I knew I wanted to pay these people for this software. So they have a deal where if you pay them $50, they give you a license to use in your home, not for business, not for corporate, not for company, but in your home to use as your firewall. And let me tell you, if you've got kids around and you've got elderly people around, if you got a lot of people using your home network, you know how easy it is for kids to get on bots and get on websites they shouldn't. And let me tell you, this thing will help you prevent that. And I could not find a better way for you to spend $50 than to invest in this into this program, this new version of Untangle. I can tell you right now, if I were to compare this to pfSense, which is free, well, open source, you pay for support. Nothing is free. But if I were to compare this to pfSense, I would rather pay for this software than to get pfSense for free. Now, I'm a GUI guy, okay? You command line gurus out there. pfSense is a wonderful program, even for you non-command prompt people. pfSense is a good firewall. I am not slamming pfSense, but I'm saying that if I had a choice between getting that for free or paying $50 for this, I would pay $50 for this. And I have. And I'm the tightest man on the planet when it comes to money. Usually $100 is my point where pain comes in. Anytime I have to spend over $100. So $50 is kind of like pocket change. I know to some people it's a lot of money, but you get what you pay for. So far it looks like their forum support is pretty darn good. Now, Untangle's been around a while, at least 10 years. I know I have used their products on and off before, but I never really appreciated how well Untangle worked until version 13, which this one is. So if you've used Untangle before and you've used version 12, you need to give this new version a new look, and we'll leave it at that. The one complaint I might have about this is the cost. Based on 25 users in a corporate environment, or 25 devices and users are the same thing. If say you have 25 users on a network, but you have 100 devices, but only 50 of those would need to get to the internet. Well, if you want them to go through this appliance, you have to pay. You could have 25 users and pay for 25 users or 25 devices, and then the rest would be bypassed. So that's how their licensing works. And for 25 users in a corporate network, it's about $550. Once you go above that, the next step is to 50, and then it's $1,000 a year or $100 a month. So it is a little bit pricier than Carrier Control in a corporate environment. Carrier's about half that cost, I believe, for the same number of users. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I priced out Carrier. But you could probably, in a small network, get by with 25 users and or 25 devices, and just be really picky about what you decide to put through this firewall, and leave the rest kind of either off the network, or off the internet by denying it a gateway, or by other means. So keep that in mind. For the home user, this is a great product, like I said, for $50. but for the commercial user, it could get a bit pricey. And the other thing I want to point out to you, as you can see, it doesn't slow down my internet connection at all. The problem with a lot of these UTM firewalls, like I'm not even going to name names, but whenever you buy these appliances, their hardware is typically not as good as you can build on your own. And these UTM firewalls, which is what Untangle is, a unified threat management firewall, they can end up slowing down your data, your traffic, especially when you're doing. You got to think, every packet that's going out on the network, with the exception of HTTPS, is being scanned by this program, by this computer, by this virtual machine, and that is very resource intensive. Picking all those packets apart, categorizing them, and then saving them to a database and creating all these beautiful graphic interfaces. So that's why I prefer to do it on a virtual machine. That way I can give it all the power it needs to run. Now, Untangle does, I believe they have some equipment that they make, their UTM units, their hardware. Well, I'll check their website and do an update video on that. But for I've given this machine a lot of power, a lot of RAM, a lot of CPUs, but I have a lot of power on that server, so I might as well give it as much as it can use. So your mileage might vary. So as you can see, this is a lovely bit of kit, as my friend Tom over at It's My Natural Color says all the time. It's a lovely bit of kit. Mr. Tight Pants, who doesn't like to part with money, blew $50 on this piece of software. It is that good. The biggest problem, as you saw through the video that I have with it, is the end cost to the customer. But you get what you pay for. But what I want to do is like do a direct comparison of this with Carrier Control, which you know is my favorite firewall out there. But Untangle, man, if you're on a home network, get this piece of software. You will not be sorry. If you can run on a physical or a virtual machine, you will not be sorry, I don't believe, with Untangle. I have just scraped the surface of what this software can do with Untangle. The rules there are so many rules you can write on your own to get the reports you want and everything you need. You just have to let your imagination run wild. It's only been up and running a few days. In fact, I'm using it in my production environment. It has not missed a beat. And after day one, like I said, I loved it so much I went out and paid $50 for a year for the software. You can throw as much memory and as many CPUs at it as you need, running it in a virtual environment or even in a physical environment. You're not limited to the equipment like you are with the Unify. You can't take their operating system and put it onto a machine that you roll up yourself. So this software, for me, Untangle, gets a 9 out of 10 so far. Now time will tell. You know how my opinion changes on things. As you get into using it more, you find the pitfalls. And I know a lot of you are going, well, Joe, you did a pfSense video. What about pfSense? Well, pfSense is fine, but I just don't care for it. I just don't care for how it's laid out. I don't care for how you have to open ports on it. I don't care how hard it is or difficult it is to get the reports that I need out of it. I just don't care for the software. And I don't care for the fact that an upgrade to pfSense breaks other things, other applications that come along with it. I would rather have a company that I can pick up a phone and bitch at and call when I have trouble. And I can do that with Untangle. I know you can do that with pfSense, but I just like the feel of Untangle better than I do pfSense. There, I've said it. Fair enough, right? You be the judge, though. Download this software. You can run it free for 14 or 15 days. And tell me if you don't like it better than pfSense. You may not, and that's fine. That's why they make different software, different strokes for different folks, right? I happen to really like Untangle, and I think moving forward in my production environment, it's going to be my go-to software for firewall. Now that doesn't mean I won't be using the Ubiquiti's Unified Security Gateway and the Edge Router Lite. Those have their place in my lab. But as for my main firewall, I think Untangle is what I'm going to be using moving forward. So, hope you found this video entertaining and informative as always. Leave your comments down in the comment section. Give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it. and we are accepting PayPal and Patreon donations. Again, I mentioned in a previous video, we're trying to save up for a big purchase, several hundreds of dollars that I have to do. It's been a long time since I've upgraded what I'm going to upgrade, and I keep alluding to it. See if any of you, let's do a little test. Leave your comment if you think you know what it is I'm saving up for. Leave your comments down in the comments section. I'll give you this hint. It has been all over YouTube for the last 6 months, as far as tech goes. Should I give you another clue? It's sitting next to me here in my work area. So you figure out what it is. No, it's not the monitors. I just replace and upgrade them. It's not the microphone. It's not the camera. It's not the keyboard. But something in this domain here, I'm going to be upgrading. You figure out what it is. Anyway, thanks again for watching. And remember, we'll see ya on the other side.